Welcome back, everyone, to the Plutonium Show. Thank you so much for joining us, and happy Monday.
Yes, happy Monday.
So we're back with our monthly episodes, monthly so far. Again, reminder, if you guys like these, they will come back a little bit more often to supplement the solo videos. They're not going anywhere, so don't worry if you're a fan of those. But we have got a lot to cover today.
Yes.
We're hopefully going to stick to time. So I think we should just get started.
Yeah, let's do it.
All right. I want to start off with something that actually came up really recently. I think over the weekend, if not maybe Friday, and I just wasn't aware of it. And you know how, throughout the duration of our podcast, this is episode 75, I believe.
I think it's 75,
so it's
yeah.
some kind of a milestone.
Yeah, 3/4 to 100.
Yeah. Thank you, everyone, for sticking with us for all this time. And if you're new, I really hope that you like it and you stick with us for the next 75. But you know how throughout the episodes, we have gathered that whenever something is happening with the royal family, Meghan just loves to put stuff out there to try to overshadow what's going on, right?
She can't have anyone take the attention away from her.
Exactly. So they've been doing that with the, withholding their response to whether they're going to attend the coronation. And then, as I know because I told you that she's not going to show up. So we have an answer. But, she can't stand not being in the headlines. Uh-huh. So she had to come up with something else. Somehow, The Telegraph, which also had an exclusive look into Harry's book before it was published. Before it was published. Uh-huh. So they have an in with the Sussexes.
Yeah.
I think so. Because they seem to have a lot of exclusives from them. And they come up with another exclusive suddenly after over 2 years, revealing that at the time, Prince Charles, obviously now King, sent Meghan a letter after the Oprah interview to voice his sadness over the breakdown and also over the apparently, the racist, what's the color of, the concerns, as she said. She didn't say it was curiosity. She said concerns were raised over the color of Archie's skin, right? We all know about that by now. So she responded to that letter. And I have the article open here, but the gist of it is that she always knew that it was never a racist comment.
Yes.
So I have it here specifically. So it says here that Meghan and King Charles agree based on those letters. The comment was said with no malice intended.
Yeah.
So she knew, she agreed.
Yep.
And yet she sat there.
Yep.
And made it out to be this big, horrific ordeal. Mm-hmm. She said concerns were raised. I mean, I know you can have concerns without malice being, behind them, but we all know how Meghan talks. She talks in read between the lines, Yeah. She never says it straight. She never has this direct way of talking. But the point is, if you knew that there was no malice intended, then why did you sit there on Oprah and share that? If it even happened.
Because that's just the sort of person she is. She needs the clicks. She wants the attention. And she's willing to say whatever it takes, whether that be a truthful statement or not.
I think it goes beyond simply wanting attention for herself. I think she wanted to destroy them.
Yeah.
And she thought at the time that since she and Harry were still so well loved, she had the power to do that. Mm-hmm. And don't forget, these comments led to death threats being made against the Cambridges. I mean, even their children were targeted. Their small children.
But that doesn't matter because it wasn't against her.
Exactly. There's this clip in the Netflix docuseries where she's like crying, going, "You're making me, fear for my life." And I'm just like, that's what you did to Catherine and William, though. I'm not saying anyone deserves to feel that way, because no one does. If you're out there sending death threats, you need help. Yeah. But your actions, Meghan, and your words and your accusations that you accepted an award for, the Ripple of Hope Award late last year, They accepted it for standing up to racism in the monarchy.
Ripple of hope in a kiddie pool. Jeez.
And then Harry backtracks and said, we never said they were racist. And now here we have another leak, a conveniently timed leak to the press, which she apparently hates so much. It's funny how they utilize them. Alleging that I always knew it was without malice. And to go further, she said, no, it was never racism. It was always unconscious bias. I even said that in my response to him. I have concerns. We need to discuss this unconscious bias going on.
With the entire world on the Oprah interview.
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly. If you knew it wasn't racism and you were concerned maybe about unconscious bias, then why didn't you bring it up with the family before you left? Because clearly you haven't discussed it with them, which is why King Charles felt compelled to send you a letter.
Yeah.
He was probably shocked. It's like, why didn't you come to us? Why didn't you tell us?
Yeah.
That's, in fact, what William said to Harry. Harry confesses in his book, which I don't know if you can see, right there. Can you see it? I hope you can, but it's in my solo videos. Little Easter egg that no one's been picking up on, actually. A few people. I'm like, oh, you got it.
Yeah.
But Harry himself stated in his memoir that William and the king would tell him, why didn't you tell us any of this? Where is this coming from? You just up and left. So he's telling on himself. He's exposing him and Meghan for the dishonest people that they are. If you have issues this serious, wouldn't you bring them up to discuss with the family before you sit on Oprah?
If they were real issues, yes, you would. And this is where this whole thing falls apart. If these issues were real, if these stories were things that actually happened, and if this what is the color of the baby going to be thing was actually intended to be racist, or you get those vibes, right? Then the first thing any reasonable person will do is try to talk to someone about it internally. If you don't want to make a scene, that's the key takeaway here. If you don't want to make a scene. So taking the position of doubt everything until evidence is proven, because this is just the reputation they've given themselves, is the only way to combat the misinformation that they do. Ironically, for people who hate the media, well, they only hate the media when the media is not singing their praises, they also are playing the media card by just saying what they want people to think, trying to sway people's opinion, rather than acknowledging that the concept of information should be you give them facts, truth, exactly how it happened, or as accurate a detail as you can provide from your opinion, and then you let people make up their own mind.
Which is their nightmare.
Exactly. Because when people make up their own mind about Meghan and Harry, they see right through them.
Absolutely. It's never good. It's never a good conclusion unless you're part of the Sussex squad, which Harry personally thanked his charity Santa Bale, personally put down, thanks to the Sussex squad.
Yeah.
Because they helped raise money. I get that.
Yeah.
But do you have any idea what your Sussex squad does in your name? The harassment that we personally are subjected to. And it's so much worse for other people, where they dox them. They send the police to their house. Swatting. It's insane. And the death threats, the horrific bullying, the attacks, the hacking. And you're thanking them, people who preach compassion and kindness and love. And this is what your people do.
Yeah, it's funny how there's the people who preach these things and there's the people who do them. And often those people don't cross over in the circle a lot. There are people who just, a compassionate person doesn't say they're compassionate. They just get on with it.
Yep.
And the fact that they have to keep coming back to it. We want you to think we're compassionate, regardless of the fact that we've done literally nothing to be compassionate. Even when she wants to play missionary, she still can't go there without wearing like thousands of dollars worth of clothes, whether it be across the world or in her own neighborhood.
Well, there was this French expose, and we're going to get to a lot of coronation things, but since things are flowing naturally right now, so I don't want to stick to an agenda and break things and make them, kind of rigid. But you went there, and it's in my list. It was at the bottom of the list of what to talk about today, which is their Archwell Foundation tax filings, which a French journalist took it upon himself to really dig into these, fly all the way to California to confront Meghan and Harry and ask them about, hey, what's going on here? You've gotten this much, millions in donations. By the way, they've got like, they raised, I think, $5,000 from the actual public, but two benefactors, two donors, people guess it's Oprah and Tyler Perry, gave them millions.
I would ask the question, can they be tax write-offs?
Well, the thing is, they're set up as a foundation, right?
Yeah.
And we all know why they do that, because for tax purposes and tax benefits. And they have 11 different companies in Delaware. Remember we talked about this 2 years ago? The French journalist talked about that too. He found it out. He was like, this is really shady. Why do they have 11 different companies all registered in Delaware, which is a notorious tax haven for these types of people? And so he flies over there. He can't get to them. He doesn't know where their address is. And they don't respond to his emails initially for a long time. He goes to an event where he finds Harry, and the security guards basically kick him out.
Yeah.
And so at the very end, Archwell responds with an email and says, we don't want to talk to you.
Yeah, we wouldn't want to have you expose us.
Well, the thing is, it's not just them. I remember also saying this 2 years ago when we talked about this, when we found out that you've got 11 companies in Delaware, there's something going on here. You only need to donate 5% of your donate. Oh, yeah, you only need to pledge, I suppose, or whatever the word is. Sorry, pledge money to charity. Just 5% of what you actually earn, what you're actually given.
Yeah.
So if they're given $9 million, all they have to do is 5% of that. The rest of it goes back into the organization itself, which is commonplace, by the way. This isn't just restricted to Meghan and Harry and Archwell. This is what a lot of foundations do, which is why when I was younger, I used to donate a lot because, breast cancer, of course, they suck you in, especially as a kid.
Yeah.
And then you grow up and you wisen up, hopefully. I mean, some never do.
Yeah.
And you realize that, hey, people have been donating for decades now. Why are you guys still, where is all the money going? And you realize it's going back into the company. Into the salaries.
Absolutely.
Of the, higher ups, and it's all corrupt.
Yeah, absolutely. There are a few that aren't. I know that I have I've seen people give to charities where you can see that come back and, sponsor childs and stuff. And, I know people who do that.
Yeah. Back to the letter between, the correspondence between Charles and Meghan. Another kind of storyline is, emanating from that, which is, is this the reason why Meghan is not going to the coronation? Now, I've said this before in my solo videos. I couldn't care less why she's not going.
Yeah.
I'm just happy that she's not.
Yeah, me too.
But she's come out and through her spokesperson responded, and get this is a joke. This is an actual joke. First of all, they say that speculation that Meghan was not attending the coronation over this letter racism stuff was ridiculous. Okay, fair enough. They go on to say, the Duchess of Sussex is going about her life in the present, not thinking about correspondence from 2 years ago related to conversations from 4 years ago. Any suggestion otherwise is false and frankly ridiculous. We encourage tabloid media and various royal correspondents to stop the exhausting circus that they alone are creating.
That's the biggest self-report I've heard. If it wasn't for Meghan, it would be in years, but because Meghan is still in the scene, that's the biggest self-report I've heard probably this week.
Well, the madness is she's going about her life in the present, not thinking about correspondence from the past. Your entire career, that Netflix docuseries alone was about dating back to 2016. It was all about the past.
Yeah.
We barely got glimpses of their present with their children, which were just there as filler and as a way to say, oh, look at us, we have a beautiful life.
Yeah.
But it was 95%, 99% about the past. Her interview with Oprah, it was all about the past. Her interview with The Cut magazine, where she basically threatened the royal family. It was all about the past. The podcast, her podcast, Archetypes, was all about not only her past, but the past of all of her guests. This is not a live in the moment person.
No.
This is not the kind of person we're dealing with here. This person is stuck in the past.
Yep.
She's fixated in it. And it's a dangerous place to be.
Absolutely.
You know, I'm in my 20s and she's in her 40s. And I have learned very recently that you need to let go of the past.
Yeah.
It is, especially if it's heavy on you. It's a sickness.
Mm-hmm.
You have to cut it out, let go, learn from it. But to leave it weighing down on you,
Yeah.
it's only going to crush you.
Mm-hmm. But that's not why she's holding on. She's holding on because she's got nothing.
Absolutely.
She's trying to use it as ammunition. But, you know, once you've, what's a good analogy here? Once you've used the ammunition, you can't reuse it. You know, you can't reuse a used bullet. You just can't. So she's grasping for straws, and that's because the royal family hasn't really done anything. You know, I mean, on the flip side, you know, this is the topic of discussion. We wish they would do something, except not in her favor. But this isn't your typical, how should I say, your typical Hollywood scandal. Well, someone will do A, and then someone will accuse them of B because they can misinterpret that. The royal family have been doing this for years, decades, centuries. They know that every single action they take can and will be used against them by someone. So, yeah, she's not going to get much more ammunition, I think.
And this is why I like the podcast, because a lot of beautiful segues. And this really brings us into the next topic, okay, which is the coronation booklet. So there's like a little souvenir, okay,
right.
Calling it a coronation booklet with photos. And I want to give you all opinions on this first before I ask you for your own, because I want you to know the full spectrum of what people are saying before. Because sometimes I've noticed I tell you things and then you change your mind. So I kind of want you to know, okay, listen, this is what, these are both sides of the argument.
Yeah.
What do you think? Okay.
Go for it.
So initially, this is relatively new. It came up this past week. A family photo from 2018 of Meghan and Harry, King Charles, then Prince Charles, Camilla, Catherine, and William, and their children were in that photo.
Right.
So it's a family photo.
Okay.
Of better times. 2018. So months after Harry and Meghan got married. She wasn't pregnant yet. And it was for King Charles's 70th birthday.
Right. Was this before or after the Oprah interview?
No, way before.
Way before.
So this is when there's still, literally, she's brand new.
Yes.
Yeah. Okay. Oprah interview was 2021. This is 2018. I mean, I'll pull up the photo for you just to have a look at it. Okay. This is the photo. So initially, I was furious. My instinct was, are you kidding me?
Right.
Of all the photos you could have chosen, and after everything they have done to destroy the royal family's name, this is what you do. But then I learned from being in this game for a couple of years now.
Yeah.
I was like, hold on. You know, this anger is not justified. And the thing is, when you spend a lot of time like I do defending them, that's where the anger is coming from. Also, I'm a citizen of the Commonwealth. A lot of people think I'm American.
No.
I'm not. So he is my king, right? This is my monarchy as well. So it does matter. I have a say in these things. But then I thought about it. I was like, listen, I've been in this game long enough to learn now from people telling me and watching much older, much more experienced commentators say, King Charles is playing a game.
Yeah.
He's in this, he's playing, you know, he's the better person here, and he's playing it masterfully.
Okay.
In the way that his mother did.
He's playing 4D chess, I think is the term.
So just like his mother, I'm hoping, because again, I don't know much about him. So what the other side is, which I am inclined to agree with, because that's what I'm seeing right now. The results of this photo is not boding well for Meghan and Harry.
Yeah.
But is bolstering the monarchy's reputation.
Okay.
So what he's done, the alternative, the one argument is he's a weak king. He's giving in to Meghan and Harry. He's groveling.
Yeah.
You know, he's, no matter what you do, I still love you.
Yeah.
There's that. And many people like Tom Bauer, many respectful people like Tom Bauer believe that to be the case. But then there's the other argument. And I think for the first time, I'm leaning towards that argument because I've seen him. It's been a few months now. And I've been studying, his moves in response to them. And I'm starting to see, I don't think he's the hopelessly, kind of loving father that Tom Bauer and the others want to paint him out to be.
Yeah.
I think he has more of that. And he is a very intellectual, intelligent man.
Yeah.
So the other side is he's literally putting their back up against the wall, in the sense that how what they say, we've been excluded, we've been cut off, we've been they literally ran us out of the country. They're racist and jealous. And so by doing this, the king is showing that he's not only rising above everything they've been doing, but he's removing the one thing that's been sustaining them financially and clout-wise, relevant, in terms of relevance, for the past 4 years, which is ammunition. So if he doesn't give them ammunition, what are they going to complain about next? Imagine if he didn't include them.
Yeah.
They would have had, what did they say, a field day. Yeah. They would have been like, look, he is racist. He is, it's a horrible institution. They excluded us.
Yeah.
But he put them in there, specifically, the two of them. I'm sure he had many beautiful photos without them. Yeah. Because he didn't want to give them an inch.
Right. So the idea is that basically, I think I understand where you're coming from there, because, either way, I think he would rather the wrath of people going, how could you forgive her? Because that's what it looks like on face value. And then, but it completely immobilizes them.
Exactly. It immobilizes them. And when you look at things in an isolated way, it looks like he's forgiving them. But when you look at them in the grand scheme of things, for example, my latest video was about Camilla, the differences between her and Meghan, what little I know, because I did buy the book and I'll be reading it soon. And about how only a few days ago, you don't know about this, a member of Camilla's ladies in waiting, so her innermost circle, spoke to the press, gave an interview, and amongst other things, told the press that Camilla felt hurt and bothered or betrayed by Harry's comments about her in the book, being that she's a villain, a dangerous woman with bodies in the street in her way up to the throne.
Yeah, right. Well, if you want to talk about real villains, go and watch your other video.
Well, it's not, that's the video, the villain. It's the same video.
Yeah.
So when it comes to the royal family and ladies in waiting and courtiers, they are not allowed to speak without permission.
Yeah, absolutely.
So the fact that the king and queen, people tell me it's queen consort. I know that. I know she's queen consort. I felt free to shorten it when the invitations to the coronation clearly said Queen Camilla. They didn't say queen consort. So it's, if the royal family is referring to her as queen, I figured I could as well. Yeah, I understand she's the queen consort.
And, it makes it a little more timeless, because people watching this in the future will be like, yes, queen, because that's eventually her role. It's almost a compliment.
Exactly. No, she is queen because historically, a woman who marries the king is queen.
Yep. And he's the king.
Marie Antoinette came from Austria, married Louis XVI, and became Queen of France. So it's just historically how it goes. But Lady Lansdowne, who was the courtier, the lady in waiting, wouldn't have had authority to speak without the king and queen okaying it.
I don't think they would have wanted to. I know nothing about them, but knowing... See, the thing is that we don't get a lot of people coming out around the royal family with coming out and essentially saying, oh, they're horrible, they're this and that. It sounds like the people around them want to be around them, and not because it's a good paying gig or whatever it is, but because they genuinely like serving them. They genuinely like the company. So, this is the first time I'm hearing about these ladies in waiting, in the term and everything, but it just sounds like, Meghan here is the odd one out, the one who wanted to start drama. So it makes sense that if anyone else was going to speak out, if someone had horrible things to say or wanted to say something that they didn't want to hear, they would have already said it.
Yeah, but the thing is, these people, especially if they're still in the employ of the palace, because don't forget, they also sign NDAs.
Yes.
Which is part of the reason why the bullying report had to get buried.
Yeah.
Because it would risk exposing who these staff members were, and it would risk, NDA issues and all of that.
And I think I said in a much earlier podcast that being the person who, having your name attached to that report would almost make you unemployable in some ways, because I'm sure that other people looking for that sort of high service employment, employers would be like, well, I wouldn't want them complaining about, my clients or
possibly. But the point I'm trying to make is, trust me, these people cannot, it's not out of pure love for Camilla. And that's it. It was allowed. She can't just go to the press and talk about Queen Camilla's feelings. So the fact that this was allowed a few days before the coronation, a week or so before the coronation, to me, as I said in The Villain, speaks volumes, because it shows that King Charles, because what it did was put his son in the crosshairs again. Because it's reigniting this uproar over how terribly he described his stepmother. So King Charles allowed this story to come up again and paint his son in it in a negative light, which to me speaks volumes, in the sense that he could have killed it. He could have said, not now, Camilla. He's going to show up to the coronation. We don't want negative attention on him, but he okayed it.
But this is one of those moves that we wouldn't have expected him to go down this avenue. But yeah, I see what you're saying.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying I really think he would have stepped in, because guess what? He stepped in and stopped the stripping of the titles. We learned this from a book that I don't own yet, about King Charles, where apparently talks about stripping them of their titles were in the highest levels, which to me translates as all the way up to the Queen. And everyone was okay with it. Charles was the one who, as a father, went, no, I don't want to do this to my son. So he does step in and stop things. So he could have stepped in and gone, Camilla, he's showing up. He's already been through enough. We don't want him to get booed. His mental health is an issue. No, he didn't stop. So to me, it just shows what he thinks of his son's behavior. And he's not pulling all the stops to protect him anymore.
And that's what we needed. Because the role of a father is to protect the entire family, not to protect one member who keeps putting themselves in harm's way. So if he was still defending Harry, then that's saying that William is less important.
I've talked about this a lot in a video, and this came up very recently, again, from the author of this latest book, Rob Jobson, I think his name is. And he said something I thoroughly disagreed with. Let me know what you think. He said, William is meant to obey whatever King Charles tells him to do. And if that means forgiving his brother and playing nice, then so be it.
No, forgiveness is an internal thing, and you can't force someone to forgive someone else.
Exactly. And to bring up, he's his king, he needs to do as he's told, but he's his son and his father as well. It's got nothing to do with I am king, do as you are told. I
don't think that would be, based on what I have seen of them, I, in my opinion, don't think that's the sort of relationship they would have, based on what I've seen from the outside world.
Well, there's a limit. I understand that maybe in the past, Charles is like, which Harry quoted him. He betrayed him and exposed a very vulnerable conversation they had after Prince Philip's funeral, where he said, boys, please, don't do this to me in my final years. So I can imagine early on, when Harry didn't have 1,000 strikes against his name, I can imagine William going, okay, I'm going to forgive you. But after what he's done, and after what he's allowed his wife to do, not only to him, but to Catherine, I think William is very much justified in saying, you want him over? You want him to come here? You're going to accept him into the coronation? Fine. But I don't want anything to do with it.
Absolutely. And at the end of the day, especially if one person has wronged another, especially if that person who did the wrongdoing can, one, not see that they've done something wrong, two, doesn't care, or three, has not at least sought forgiveness, then you can't force those two to reconcile. And to say to the wronged party, well, you just need to let this go, that's the biggest slap in the face you can give someone.
Absolutely.
So, yeah.
Absolutely. And on the topic of forgiveness, so people want William to forgive Harry for betraying him on such a global scale and so catastrophically.
Yeah.
So horrifically.
Yeah.
Such low blows, going after his looks, which, by the way, William is a beautiful man. It doesn't matter that he doesn't have a lot of his hair left. He's still beautiful.
Yeah.
But Harry went after his looks and went, you're bald. You don't even look like my mom anymore, because that's one of his things. He doesn't, William looks so much like Diana, and it gets to Harry so much.
Yeah. I mean,
But-
you only go after someone's looks when you have nothing else.
Exactly. But all of these people preaching forgiveness and who think this should happen, what about forgiving Meghan's family?
Yeah.
What about forgiving Thomas Markle?
Yeah.
Who, unlike Harry, has done nothing wrong. And the most he has done is agreed to rehabilitate his image, which he has every right to do,
Yep.
by taking some staged paparazzi photos. Who cares?
Yeah.
I mean, Meghan takes staged paparazzi photos every time she sets foot out of the house.
She calls the press and everything.
It's always Backgrid and Splash. I mean, they're dial-a-pap. They're known for it. You're seriously going to cut off your own father who gave you everything, the world on a platinum platter,
Yep.
because of that?
Yeah.
And you expect William, who's been stomped on repeatedly,
Yeah.
and who still, as far as we're aware, hasn't received an apology. In fact, it was the opposite. Harry's demanding an apology for them.
Yep.
And you expect William to forgive him.
Yeah.
Or to do Charles's bidding and play nice. No, there's a limit. There's a limit. And unfortunately, some people seem to believe that there isn't a limit with family.
Yeah.
But there is.
There absolutely is.
There can be abusive family members.
Yes.
And they can be horrific. They can be worse than any stranger you've ever come across. You can't keep cutting them slack, because they're going to keep taking advantage of that.
Absolutely.
And victimizing you
Yep.
and perpetrating against you.
Yep. Sometimes, even if you've grown up with someone your entire life, sometimes there are things about them that develop, through their experiences or through just their personality naturally, that you can't accept. And you don't have to accept everything about a person, especially if what they're doing is wrong. So,
Exactly. I mean, of course you love your family, and I
Yeah.
do not doubt for a second that William loves his brother, which again, his brother stated that in his memoir.
Yeah.
No one doubts that William loves Harry included. But there's a limit, always,
Yeah.
always, always. And to say that there isn't is license to abuse.
Yeah, absolutely. I'd like to touch on the topic of forgiveness briefly, because it's something that, especially, growing up in a church, it's one of those things that's absolutely preached often, exhaustively, and for a long time, I agreed that, forgiving everyone is the way to go. However, the same way that God wouldn't forgive a person unless they sought forgiveness, the same way that Harry shouldn't be forgiven, at least until he seeks forgiveness. And he's never going to seek it, because he's never going to see what he did wrong.
The problem is, I've had experience with people who repeatedly seek forgiveness because you're their narcissistic supply. They need you in their life. And when you start showing them signs that you're cutting them out, they start getting desperate.
Yeah.
But guess what happens? Every time you forgive, they do it again.
Yeah.
These types of people are the ones that I don't have any more forgiveness for.
Yeah.
So I'm not saying don't forgive.
No.
There are things that are not worth forgiving, but I think that's subjective as well. It's like you said, if you want to move on, if it makes you feel better, do it. But to force William, or to say that, go along with your father's wishes. No. No, because what Harry did was attack William directly. If Charles is willing to defend or forgive Harry, then that's on him. It's fine. But to force it on William, who was an additional victim of Harry's.
Yes.
It's not like, oh, I'm going to stand up for my father. No, he's come after William personally. And his wife.
Yep.
So, yeah, to force this issue, it didn't sit well with me. But of course, let us know what you all think. I just think whenever forgiveness and apologies and accountability comes up with Meghan and Harry, it's laughable.
Yeah.
Because many people deserve forgiveness. They don't.
Yes.
Well, first, show forgiveness yourselves. They are so ruthless with their own kin. Look at what they've done to, it's not just her father. She's dragged out her niece to defame and disparage and attack her own mother, being Meghan's sister,
Yeah.
on Netflix.
Yep.
A niece that she wasn't even talking to for a while and didn't even invite to her wedding. She dragged her out, made amends, and sat her there in front of millions to attack her own mother.
And that's another thing too. If Meghan is seeking amends with you after she's wronged you, you're just another pawn in her game. You know, pretending to seek forgiveness, as you said, especially in the case of narcissism, it's not genuine. And I think you can see that, especially if you've experienced it before, when someone wants forgiveness just so they can mistreat you in a different way.
I mean, you've been through it. You've been sexually assaulted because you kept forgiving.
Yep, absolutely.
Did that serve you well?
Absolutely not.
So you'd agree, some people you just can't forgive. You have to shut the door.
Yes, you do. You do.
So, of course, I'm not saying Meghan and Harry are capable of such things. It's just a personal example of how sometimes it's just really, unfortunately, as much as you may want to, it's just not the way to do it.
Yep.
I guess in the time remaining, I just want to revisit the olive branch, putting them in the coronation booklet thing, because we gave a lot of thought and discussion into the king having a master plan. But there is still the possibility, even if it's a small one, that it is an olive branch. And he is very keen on them. And he is willing to forgive and forget. And Tom Bauer's right in saying that it's the beginning of the end of the monarchy if this is the route he wants to go down. And the reality is, many people seem to echo that sentiment. You know, they also seem to think that this is a display of weakness and that the king can show strength in different ways. The way I saw it before, and I still see it somehow this way, okay? At this point, Meghan and Harry have done so much damage that, to me, no matter what the king does, it's justified.
Yeah.
You don't put them in the booklet, it's justified.
Absolutely.
You don't invite them, it's justified. So, because the whole world's woken up to them. This is no longer the Oprah interview era of 2021 when they were still in the good graces of people.
Yeah.
I mean, like I've said before, I used to like Meghan before that interview. So then if that was the climate, then I would think, okay, they have cause for concern.
Yeah.
There might be backlash. The racism allegations would be confirmed. But now that the whole world, even the Americans, see through them,
Yeah.
I think they're safe to just be honest and stop with the games and just don't invite them.
I think
Don't
so.
do this, don't do that. So yeah, it's I think both arguments and both opinions and both sides are valid, because at the end of the day, all of us are not privy to what's actually going on. We don't know whether it's the long game or whether it's an actual olive branch. I mean, if it's an actual olive branch, I would have thought they would have run out a long time ago.
Yeah, I mean, there's no more olive trees to make olive branches for them at this point because they've dug their own graves. And this is another thing too. Maybe another strategy is to let them, Meghan and Harry, let them say as many things as they possibly can. Let them say their piece, do as much damage as they possibly can, which inevitably there will be damage. But so far, I'm sure the Sussex squad is twice as loud as they are large. I don't think there's that many of them left.
No, I think they are a small but very vicious group.
Yeah, absolutely. So if King Charles sits back, lets them do everything they want to do, and then at the end goes, well, all you've done is give us all this evidence of why your titles should be stripped, why you shouldn't be a part of the royal family. You know, it's almost like they're just giving the royal family the ammunition they need to do something more extreme.
Maybe. That's another possibility. I mean, right now, like I said, Meghan's already started with her trying to overshadow the coronation with this conveniently timed leak about the letter. I mean, come on. It's been since 2021. Why are we hearing about this now? Why are we only hearing about this letter now? And then Harry had an opportunity to bring this letter up in his interview with Tom Bradby, where he said for the first time, we never said racism. We said unconscious bias. In fact, Meghan, my wife, brought up this, issue with my father in a letter.
Yeah.
That would bolster their position, by the way.
It would.
It's like, oh, we talked about how it was unconscious bias from the get-go. This is just the press that ran with it. But you, number one, never said that. And number two, you never corrected the record in all of these 2 years when there were countless headlines about racism.
Yep.
Which they reignited in the Netflix docuseries. The racism aspect was a predominant part of that series, where they tried to paint the monarchy as a racist institution still by calling it the Empire 2.0.
Would it be fair to say that there wouldn't be a Netflix docuseries if you removed the racism aspect from it?
I don't know. I don't think so. They have a lot to complain about.
Yeah.
But racism being a huge element, but they would have come up with something else. They would have come up with jealousy.
Yeah.
They would have come up with, they could see how Meghan was Diana 2.0.
Yeah.
You know, Diana reincarnate, which is creepy in and of itself, because why would anyone want to sleep with the reincarnation of their mother is way beyond anything I even want to consider.
Yeah.
You know, he writes down really, really inappropriate things in his book. Of course, I know he has a ghostwriter. There's always someone in the comments. He didn't write it. I know.
He still had to review it. A ghostwriter isn't, can you write this for me and we'll pretend that I wrote it?
Well, it is, but he feeds him the information.
Yeah, exactly.
So, yeah, he writes about how he used this Elizabeth Arden cream on his downstairs. And it's a cream that his mom used on her lips. And so he says, this is what my mom used to put on her lips, and now you want me to put it down there? And then he put it down there, and he talked about how it smelled of his mom's lips. It was so wrong. Exactly. See? It was so wrong.
Oh my gosh.
So
you put that in a book?
Yeah.
Oh my gosh. That's the first time I'm hearing of this.
Yeah, it was
what
so
the
bad.
Hell?
It was so wrong. You understand why now I had to do it in like 3 pages per day, because
Yeah.
I had to put it down and walk away.
Yeah, because you're quite a fast reader, you know.
That book was a marathon.
Oh my god.
I couldn't get past it. You know,
Who has those thoughts?
yeah. It's just, and he puts them in a book. This is again something that if I were a wife, I'd be like, well, if I were his wife,
Yeah.
I'd be like, honey, I know you love me and all, you know, right? But maybe stop with the comparisons.
Yeah.
It's kind of weird. And maybe don't talk about your mom's lips and your Todger in the same paragraph. It's kind of weird. You know what I mean?
It's very weird, but honestly, I think this is how Meghan got in the first place. She made so many comparisons. So I think that whatever cringeworthy stuff he comes up with now, which there's still probably a chance that she's feeding him some of this stuff as well, still tying the knots to try and keep them together. I don't know if this would be coming from her, but I think there's no way she could ever have that conversation with him, because
No, the cream thing's definitely not from her. It's something
Yeah.
from his childhood, which was highly inappropriate to put into a book.
Yeah.
And it kind of eerily gives you an insight into his thoughts about his mother.
it's just,
You know, it's just wrong. And I agree
What?
with you. We've always said, most commentators have said that she impersonated Diana to get him.
Yes.
And continues to do so. It's clear as day, you know, in her mannerism and her clothing and all of that. But the fact that he fell for it and didn't go, ew, this is weird.
Yeah.
I mean, what's going on here? You know what I mean?
oh my goodness.
So
It's
they're both messed up
Yeah.
in that way. And by the way, you said something about, you know, to keep them together.
yeah.
I'm starting to think that since her children became prince and princess, she's relying less and less on her attachment to him to be relevant, because
Yeah.
I think she's got it in the bag now. Her children are
Yeah.
prince and princess forever, and she's forever going to be their mom. This is the classic. It's like a gold digger who has money, children,
Yeah.
with the multimillionaire husband.
Yeah.
They get divorced. She's set for life.
Exactly. And this is another thing too, now that you mentioned divorce, is, you know, I think as a future prediction, you can see how Meghan's probably already thought of, all right, if I do the divorce, then I have a million more stories and I can say this and do this, and how it would just be Meghan's arc 2.0. However, I also think that option isn't necessarily as open to her as she thought before, because Meghan without Harry is no one.
Well, that's where I'm arguing that it's looking like, and I agree with you.
Yeah.
Objectively, she's no one.
Yeah.
And I don't think her children are going to give her that much relevance. They're going to grow up to be relevant.
Yeah.
I think that's without a doubt.
I mean, they still got 15 years at least.
Well, unless they grow up with a really good head on their shoulders, like the other royal children,
Yeah.
and they stay out of the limelight. But with parents like that, you never know. You never know.
Yeah.
Like, obviously, we're not parents, but you just never know how they're going to turn up. They might turn up messed up.
Yeah, they might.
I hope they don't. But my point is, objectively, she's no one without Harry. But I think in her mind, with her ego and her narcissism, she thinks she is.
Yeah.
And so she may start going, oh, I can relaunch the TIG. I have my own podcast, which there are rumors there's going to be a second season.
Blech.
I mean, she has been winning awards for
Yeah.
a flopcast. Make it make sense.
I mean, if you want your awards ceremony to be taken seriously, then don't give an award to Meghan Markle. It's as simple as that. Those two do not go hand in hand. I mean, yeah, I could say a lot.
Remember that skit I made about it?
Exactly. Go and watch that. It's awesome.
But it looks like she's trying to relaunch herself
Yes.
as an independent. And
Yes.
obviously she's got her political aspirations as well, which I don't think they're going to go anywhere,
No,
personally.
I don't think anyone would vote for her, because the one thing that politicians have to do come election season is convince you that they're going to do what they say they're going to do. And that's something that no one would believe Meghan.
Well, there's also, there's a lack of credibility, but all politicians are liars.
Yes,
So,
this is true.
So she fits in that area.
But at least in the election campaign, right, to get people to vote, you at least have to tell more truths than the other guy, or at least convince that, right? Put Meghan against anyone, any current politician that's been in the game for long enough, and I don't think she stands a chance.
I don't think she has the thick skin for it.
Yeah.
You know, her entire life is based on complaining about negative press.
Yeah.
And a lot of that press, as you can see even in the series, because they put up screenshots, is pretty benign.
Mm-hmm.
There's some nasty things in there, I'm not going to lie, but the majority is not.
Yeah.
Stuff like I get worse things and I'm a nobody,
Yeah.
like in my comment section. So she can't stand that.
Yeah.
Let alone what she would be subjected to as a politician.
Mm-hmm.
She doesn't have the she doesn't have the skin for it. And also, I think her success as a politician would hinge upon where this wokeness is going to go, because it's taking over like a cancer, but there's a lot of backlash.
Yes.
People aren't just taking it lying down. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
I mean, people are getting fired now for saying good morning girls in an all girls, or good afternoon girls in an all girls school.
It's so ridiculous.
Or, for using the world is going nuts.
Mm-hmm.
It is going absolutely nuts. But the good thing is that we know about it because there's a lot of backlash.
Yes.
So if this crazy extreme wokeism, dies down and we all snap back into it, then people like her don't stand a chance.
Absolutely.
But she is the queen of woke.
Yes.
And if it continues to escalate, then she actually has a chance. That's the scary part. If it continues to escalate, which I personally don't think it will. And I think there are more people against it than for it.
Yeah.
But
Yeah. That's definitely the avenue she would take. So let's hope that common sense wins at the end of the day, even though it's not so common. And
yeah, I think she's sufficiently made a joke of herself.
Yeah.
I think even as far back as 2021, she had a chance, which is when she was, writing letters to politicians as the Duchess of Sussex.
You
My
mean
goodness.
Duchess of Sussex, not the Duchess of Sussex.
Yeah,
'cause-
there's that too.
Yeah.
But back then she had some credibility, but I really think now, today, 2023, she's a laughingstock.
She doesn't understand that the thing that destroys her credibility happens to be every time she opens her mouth.
Yeah.
That's the part of this recipe that keeps going the same. It's just she doesn't understand that no matter what she says at this point, people can see that she's not telling the truth, and that's going to be her reputation. Even if she stops now and goes away, which she won't, she's way too much of a big head for that. That's how she'll be remembered.
It's such a pity. I always say this. It's such a waste. Such a beautiful woman who could have done so much good, for the monarchy. I used to like her, so I still remember how the positive side of what I saw, because I wasn't privy to any of this. I wasn't following the news about the royal family until the Oprah interview. When I heard about Megxit, I was like, I can't believe she did that, but I didn't. It was all just, which I imagine is how most people treat the news. It's just
Yeah.
headlines and you move on.
Because that's normally what the royal family has been for a lot of people in their lives, is that you hear about them in the headlines, you hear about something they're doing, but for the most part, they are a presence.
Yeah, they're not like something that used to drive a lot of interest.
Exactly.
I'm not talking about everyone, of course. You can
Yeah.
say you were always interested in them, especially if you're British. But personally, yeah, and I know a lot of people like this. It was just this peripheral thing, you know? And she did a lot to bring a lot of attention to them as well, whether it's a negative or positive thing. But such a waste. Such a waste. I mean, she really could have done so much if she was a decent human being, which in my opinion, she's not.
No, I totally agree with that. And that is also my opinion.
So, yeah, I think that's it. We're not too far away from the coronation. It's on the 6th of May. And obviously, I'm going to be watching it, although whether it's going to be live, I doubt it. I live in Australia. The time difference is a bit of a pain.
Yes.
I'll see what time it's going to be held, but yeah, it depends on the time difference. But it's great because we're quite young, and I'm hoping that we're going to be alive, if everything goes to plan and nothing untoward happens, for William's coronation.
Yeah.
Because, of course, I wish the king a very long life.
Yep.
But he is, I believe, 75 this year. And William is still quite young.
Yep.
And yeah, we might actually get to witness 2 coronations in our lifetime.
Yeah.
If the monarchy persists, because I think it will.
Yeah.
But there are the naysayers out there. They're not Republicans, but they're just losing hope because they don't like the way Charles is handling things, and they're kind of screaming, down with the monarchy. But
And I think it's good to explore all possibilities, because if everyone agreed without a doubt that, the monarchy is not going anywhere, then that's probably what would happen. It would disappear because, so it's good that we are at least exploring those thoughts because, it's always good to hear other opinions anyway, so.
Yeah. And, I think Charles is a very, I don't know much about him, but he really comes across as a really good person.
Yeah.
A nice guy. He's smart. He's made mistakes. I always say this because you're going to have, you're apologizing for what he's done. No, he did cheat and it's not acceptable, but it was a very unfortunate situation, which I will delve into when I read Camilla's biography. Yeah. And I will come back to you with a very hopefully educated, analysis rather than what's going on in my head right now, which is, I heard this and I heard that. So I'm not very well versed in the area. But, people make mistakes. People make mistakes and they learn and they grow. And I don't think especially when they try to atone for these mistakes, it's funny because we talked about forgiveness and now I'm coming back to it.
It was just funny. I was just thinking that. Yeah.
I think Camilla deserves all the forgiveness that she's received because she's shown herself to be a loyal member of the royal family and her service to the Queen. The Queen was certainly very fond of her because she said, I want her to be Queen Consort. Yep. Even though the British public was promised back in 2005 when we were little, when they got married, that she would only be Princess Consort. To appease the public.
I didn't know that.
Yeah. So the Queen upgraded her. What does that tell you? She must be, and the Queen was a very astute, intelligent, kind-hearted, no-nonsense person. So if she liked Camilla after everything that happened, because at one point she even refused to be in the same room as Camilla, I believe.
Wow.
Yeah. I mean, he wasn't allowed to marry her. That's the thing. He loved her. Yeah. He wanted to marry her, but then she wasn't deemed suitable, and so along came Diana.
Yeah, I see. I knew that last bit. I didn't know that. Yeah, well, this would be interesting to hear all the things that come out from
the
this book.
Yeah, so the Queen wasn't a fan of hers to begin with. Yeah. And then she won her favor, as she did with most of the British public from what I'm seeing now, and she's going to be crowned your Queen Consort. So there is place for forgiveness. I'm just wondering whether I sounded too harsh back there because certain people were in my mind and certain people just don't waste it on them. But there are people who do deserve it. Yeah. So, we'll see what transpires. I'm sure everyone's going to tune into the coronation. The next time you're back, it would have come and gone. Yeah. So we will be able to talk about it. I love all that pomp and ceremony, and I know it's going to be drastically watered down in comparison to Queen Elizabeth's coronation, which is on YouTube, by the way. I watched it for anyone else who's interested. It was televised even back then. It was a lot more kind of arduous, and a lot more stuff was put in place. But she was only 27, around my age at the time, and she was young.
Yeah.
She could go through it. But he's 75. So they're going to have to keep that in mind. And
it's crazy. It was like almost a 50-year age difference there.
It's insane. Yeah. I can only imagine the excitement of such, it's human nature to think that, oh, wow, look at this young and beautiful person. It must have drawn so much excitement and hope for the future.
Yeah.
Because as excited as people are about King Charles, I can't even fathom what a 27-year-old young woman would have made other people feel in terms of hope and, just...
Yeah, someone who represents not just, through tradition, the previous generation, but the future generation as well.
Exactly.
Because that's always something that happens with the age gap, and it's something that we do see with politicians. Often, their values don't align with the values of those who are, younger, because they are much older and see the world differently. So... yeah, that would have been something to see Queen Elizabeth.
And she was actually queen when she was 25 officially when her father passed. But the coronation happened 2 years later.
Jeez.
So so young, so full of hope, and she pledged a life of service.
Yeah.
And she did it.
Yep.
Up until her last days, when she greeted the new prime minister, who's no longer prime minister now. That was a few days before she passed.
Wow. Yeah, it's just incredible.
Till her very last breath.
Yeah.
What an amazing woman. I miss her. I'm so glad I got interested in the royal family when I did.
Yeah.
Because she could have passed and I would never have the chance to have been invested in her and her family and her monarchy and learn about her. And I don't know how we turned to her, but she's always worth talking about.
Yeah, absolutely. She's the sort of person that every time I heard her speak, and this is someone like it's very hard to explain how a Commonwealth country that isn't the United Kingdom, that isn't Britain, sees the monarchy, right?
Yeah.
It's not really in our face. You learn about it in school, but and then you'll get the occasional visit and all that sort of stuff. But with that said, when you heard her speaking, it wasn't I must respect, salute, and all that sort of stuff. It was like, I'm interested to hear what she has to say.
Yeah.
Someone of such class and character, and you wonder how they phrase their sentences. It's fascinating.
It is. And she always, ever since I was a little girl, I remember even we visited Buckingham Palace and I was 10, I believe. And I kept asking my mom, are we going to see her now? Are we like every corner we turned? And I just wanted to see her. And I always got this vibe whenever I heard her speak up until the end of such humility.
Yeah.
From such a profoundly important person.
Yeah.
You really get the sense it never got to her head.
Yeah.
Which again comes full circle with this Meghan Markle topic. The exact opposite.
Yes.
Someone who is she's really amounted to nothing.
Yeah.
What has she done other than marry a man?
Yeah. There are certain people that who are famous that you'd want to walk past on the street and meet, and then there are people that you want to avoid.
Like take a wide berth.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And she's one of those people because you just don't know what she would do. Like, I don't want to speculate here, but it's just like whatever it is not going to be pleasant because she sees you as lower than her.
Exactly. And that's what's so fascinating. How can someone who's done nothing with their life, relatively, be so pompous and up themselves when one of the most successful and long-reigning monarchs of our time, or of history, comes across as such an approachable, lovely person.
Yeah. And
from everything I've heard of all of the biographers, everyone who knew the Queen, that's just what you hear.
Yeah.
And I remember watching this documentary called the Unseen Queen or something. It was footage from her childhood and just their own private camera footage.
Whoa.
And you know how I always say this, you get to read, right?
Yes.
I can read people really well, and you just get this vibe off of her that she was just this disarming, lovely person. And, such a loss for us. So I hope her son can live up to that.
Yep.
And carry it on for as long as he can.
Yep.
And then hopefully we will all be here to see William take the... I don't know what... I was going to say something like...
Take the throne?
No, I was going to say something more poignant than that, but oh well.
How old is William now?
William he's over a decade older than us. I think he's born early 80s.
Early 80s.
So he'd be around 40, 41 this year.
So if he's 40 and let's say, I don't want to, imagine this already. We're just going to go through the coronation now. But if King Charles lived to 100, right, then that would make William 65.
Yes, still younger than his father.
10 years younger, yeah.
But still getting there.
Yeah.
Still getting there in terms of being a king.
Yep.
In history as well, a lot of monarchs, because people just didn't live that long as well back then, it gets passed on when they're when the successor is a lot younger generally.
Yeah.
Because their father generally passed away at a much younger age than, let's say, the Queen of England. 96. It's, pretty much practically unheard of back then.
Yeah, absolutely. I will say this though. My opinion of William is that if he had to take the throne today, he could. I think he's absolutely fit for it. And so I think that I can only imagine the sort of man he will be in another 25 years when his coronation comes around.
I think so too. I think if it had to happen today, I think he's, absolutely ready, because he's been training for it all his life and he's got such a good head on his shoulders.
Yeah.
Which if there's a silver lining out of all of this drama with the Sussexes, it's that William has shown how he acts in times of adversity.
Yes.
Which is keep that chin up and, I don't know how he's dealing with it personally, but what matters really is the optics, right? And just soldier on. He's going to, meetups and, royal engagements with his wife, and he's laughing. And I just recently watched a video of him picking up the phone at an Indian restaurant.
Yeah.
Pretending to be an employee.
Oh my God.
This is literally like 2 days ago.
All right, you got to show me that. That sounds hilarious.
Please check it out if you haven't. It's so adorable. Catherine's right there laughing.
Yeah.
And he's, the person's asking for directions, if he can make a booking, and William's like putting the phone down and going, what do I tell him?
Yeah.
It's so adorable. And the person on the phone has no idea.
Oh, go on. The Indian street drink.
It's Indian street drink, how can I help? Yes.
Sorry?
What street are you on?
Belitsil.
Belitsia.
Belitsil.
We're on Belitsia Street. We're on Belitsia Street? Yes, Belitsia Street.
It was really cute. And he kept telling him, you can make it, because the person was like, I don't think I can make it. I need to catch a train by 3. William's like, 2:15? Yeah. He's like trying to encourage him to come make a booking. So that's how he is. He's just rising above it.
Yeah.
Which is what Camilla did.
Yep.
And I'm sure the Queen had criticism throughout her 70-year reign that we're not privy to, and she rose above it. There was a huge time, especially with the Diana stuff, where the Queen was looked, the opinion of her was a little bit negative.
Yeah.
Because of the entire Diana, people loved Diana at the time. So the moral of the story is keep your head up high. Don't play dirty with the people who want to drag you down to their muddy playground.
Yep.
You're better than that. Don't stoop down to their level. That's a personal lesson that I have not only learned but benefited from. Always play on the side of the truth, because that's how you don't have to get dirty to begin with.
Yeah.
And just rise above it.
Absolutely.
Something that Meghan and Harry are incapable of doing.
Yes, we have an example of how to and how not to.
Exactly, which is why, that video from my last video, The Villain, was about that in a very surface level, because I couldn't delve deep into Camilla, but one became queen and one's a joke in Montecito.
Yep.
And with that, we are going to call it here. Thank you all so much for joining us. Let us know what you think of all the topics we discussed today. Do you think Charles is a weak king, offering olive branch after olive branch? Do you think this is a long game strategy or a long-term strategy is what I meant to say? And will you be tuning into the coronation, or will you be going if you live there? Because I know a lot of people are camping out to go see it in person. I envy you. I wish I could, but I'm halfway across the globe. And we will catch you in 4 weeks.
We'll see you then.
Actually, I always say that. You will catch me in probably a few days.
Yeah, definitely.
All right, everyone. Thank you. Have a great week ahead of you, and we'll see you next time.
See you then.
Bye-bye.